Matt, yesterday, Paul Ryan, the House Speaker, had a town hall with Jake Tapper of CNN in Wisconsin, in his own home state. And he said a lot of different things, and I want to get you to address some of them. So, Jamie, would you play the first Paul Ryan clip?
So I do believe that he messed up in his comments on Tuesday when it sounded like a moral equivocation, or at the very least moral ambiguity, when we need extreme moral clarity.
Okay, I want you to translate Paul Ryan for me. So he was talking about President Trump originally coming out and sort of condemning the Nazis, and then on Monday of last week, and then Tuesday coming out and then sort of morally equivocating. What is Paul Ryan trying to do when he says Donald Trump messed up, like as if he was like a shortstop who like booted a ground ball?
Error, yeah. Well, it's weird because obviously Monday is a scripted event. It's just reading off a teleprompter. That's all it requires for Trump. And then Tuesday is like unadulterated Trump. So you're actually getting Trump's view on Charlottesville and what he actually thinks, in large part, I think. And he's basically saying where he really does stand, which was, the both sides have fault in this, and it really, coming to the defense of Nazis and white supremacists. So you have Paul Ryan, who always wants to be positive towards Trump. He never wants to actually chastise him in a sort of way. He never wants to lose Trump's real support here. So he just keeps on going forward with, my positive message and, going forward. And so he said
that was a Wisconsin accent.
He's new at this. Yeah.
The president's new at
That's
this.
my Paul Ryan accent. It's not very good. Yeah, and I know Trump hated that the president's new at this thing. But,
maybe if you just make true observations, you sound honest. Like, the president's new at this.
He's only 8 months in. Yeah.
The president has never been president before.
right. Just
I'm not
tautology.
going to hypotheticals.
The president was unaware of the white supremacist movement in the United States, unaware of Nazi imagery, and wholly has never thought about whether or not he supports Nazis or KKK or David Duke in the past.
He's unaware of his own base. That's my translation.
But if you're Paul Ryan, who I think made a statement last weekend, the weekend before this one, in response to Charlottesville, if I'm not mistaken, he came out and said something like in a printed statement.
Yeah.
This is the first time he's really gotten out there and addressed it. Is his job to separate his Republican conference from Trump on this, or find some way to bridge a divide? What's the goal for Paul Ryan coming out of this?
I think you kind of laid it out. Democrats always think, he'll be this, and I think this is the reason why Paul Ryan gets so much anger and ire or whatever, is people think, like Democrats do think he's this semi-reasonable guy who is, at some point going to stand up and say enough of this, and Republicans are there deeply suspicious that he'll do the same thing, or at least the Trump Republicans, and he's trying to bridge the divide, I think. And I think Democrats are continually disappointed because he keeps on doing this.
Because he speaks in much more sane terms than the President of the United States on a variety of issues. Like, if you watched the town hall last night, he clearly understands how to speak in a way that is appealing to the broad middle about a variety of issues.
And he makes Trump's position seem more palatable too. Somehow Trump defending Nazis is like, well, I don't want to have any moral equivocation. I liked what he said tonight. I liked what he said, the day after and Monday. And it's like, oh, well, sometimes he gets it right, sometimes he gets it wrong, but take the things when he gets it right, and like that's what Republicans have to cling to, right? Is this idea that sometimes Trump's going to get it right when he's reading off a teleprompter.
You picked it one day when Stephen Miller wrote the speech, or somebody other than Stephen Miller wrote the speech.
Right.
You're like, oh, I cherry picked this one. I loved that comment that the president made. It was so good. Paul Ryan, as an example, I think yesterday, and I don't think we have audio of this, Jamie, so I'm going to just go ahead and say it myself. Translating Paul Ryan, yesterday he said basically that the Republican effort in the House on health care reform was aimed at lowering premiums, basically designed to make things better for all Americans. In terms of how much they're paying for health insurance and making sure that there was more choice. I'll translate that into what Paul Ryan really wants, which is to cut $1 trillion in Medicaid spending, revamp the entire way we do healthcare so that you can cap how much anybody can get out of the healthcare system. But this is my point. Like, he's pretty good at talking a good game. What do people want to hear? Lower premiums, more choice.
So there's a few questions about this, but I liked the one where from the nun, right, which was related to this idea.
I know, she brought the ruler out. She's gonna knock him on the knuckles.
Right, right.
You're not being a good Catholic.
Right. Well, it was this sort of the social Catholicism that the JFK Democrats kind of like, but. And Ryan, the question was a good one, but it wasn't specific enough, and it gave Ryan. He's so good. If you give him a little bit of wiggle room, he'll wiggle out of it. It's just this sort of broad, nebulous, theoretical idea of we believe in small taxes and government, and it's got to go away, and this is the best way forward. And that's all well and good. And again, that appeals to the broad middle. But if she had just asked the question as how do you defend cutting Medicaid, right? $1 trillion or $860 billion or whatever the number is.
It's lower than $1 trillion now. When he first rolled out that plan in 2011, it was $1 trillion.
Right. So and functionally, I mean, go outside the 10-year window. It's more than $1 trillion. So how do you defend taking away health care from poor people? And I don't think anyone would really say someone making $12,000 a year isn't poor. Maybe Paul Ryan would, or some House Republicans would, who say the poverty level's at whatever. I mean, functionally, we're talking about the expansion is people making like $16,000 a year, right? So if you just got specific with it, I think it was the wiggle room that allowed him to do this. And obviously, there's the broad rhetorical point that we've heard ad nauseum at this point that you're just cutting taxes for the rich at the expense of the poor. I mean, it was basically a bill that redistributed wealth. The Senate bill sort of corrected that in some ways. But fundamentally, that's what the House bill was doing. So, she's got a great point that if you want to stick by Jesus' teachings, right, in Matthew 25 or whatever, Paul Ryan's got some problems here with squaring sort of his.
Trying to remember, we talking sheep and goats there?
No, that's like the Sermon on the Mount.
Sermon on the Mount, right.
Yeah.